Number 6. Sickle cell trait. Sickle cell trait is a rare blood disorder that affects over 100 million people worldwide, around 3 million people in America, but interestingly, around 8 to 10% of America's entire black population. So why more African Americans than any other racial group? We'll get to that, but first, what is sickle cell, and what causes it? First, we have to draw a clear distinction between sickle cell trait and sickle cell disease. Sickle cell trait can lead to sickle cell disease, in which case patients suffer all sorts of nasty consequences like stabbing pain, infections, difficulty breathing, organ failure, blurry vision, and strokes. In people with sickle trait, those nasty symptoms are typically not present. However, people with sickle cell trait are at risk of suffering some of the symptoms if they are high-performance athletes or live in high-altitude places with low oxygen. This is because sickle cell trait affects the shape of hemoglobin. You know, that stuff in your red blood cells responsible for delivering oxygen all over your body? It's pretty important stuff, you know. It's called sickle cell trait because, well, instead of looking like a donut without a hole in it, affected red blood cells look like sickles. Sickle cell trait offers one evolutionary advantage that almost makes it a superpower, but which also explains why it affects more black populations. Every year, around 250 million people get malaria. Around 600,000 of those cases are fatal. Scientists discovered that the sickle cell gene mutation is more prevalent in malaria-infected countries like African countries, and that people with sickle cell trait are 60% more protected against malaria than normal people. Sounds awesome, I know, but there's a catch. While evolution may have designed this rare gene mutation to protect against malaria, it inadvertently created a whole new problem. People with sickle cell trait carry one mutated gene that they got from one of their parents. But if both their parents have the mutated gene and pass it on to them, then I'm extra protected? No. Then it goes from sickle cell trait to sickle cell disease. And you don't want that. Number 5. Neurodevelopmental disorders. There are several neurodevelopmental disorders that all share many of the same common traits and symptoms, which can often be debilitating. For instance, people with ADHD, dyslexia, and even autism all face many of the same challenges, like displaying a lack of focus or attention and being easily distracted, daydreaming, impulsive behavior, restlessness, and struggling to sit still, learning difficulties, especially in children, anxiety, mood swings, irritability, struggling to remember trivial things. Dude, where's my keys? Many of these disorders, even though not even that rare, are still very much misunderstood. Take ADHD for instance. Some scientists now think that it's actually not a disorder, but rather some sort of revolutionary superpower. Think back to the days of the caveman. Ooh, what's that? It's a lion. Ah! While everyone is running away, you attack. Because unlike them, your unique gene mutation means you are genetically superior. You're basically the Jason Bourne of the Stone Age. You are fearless. You take risks. You have hyper senses. You're constantly aware of everything that's happening around you. You come up with creative solutions to solve problems, and as an added bonus, you may even have super smell. Yep, you heard that right. Some people with ADHD have hyper smell. Fried rice with a hint of cumin and paprika. And is that saffron I smell? Better yet, ADHD in early humans means they were more likely to mate. A study done with 2 Kenyan tribes showed that the tribe who had more ADHD traits were better nourished and better at hunting and protecting their village. While the other tribes were better at learning modern skills, they weren't so great at hunting or defending. It's clear to see how ADHD traits were beneficial in early humans. But people with ADHD really struggle in a modern world where earning a living often demands focusing on single boring tasks. And that is also true for other neurodevelopmental disorders like dyslexia and autism. But there are many super successful people who have turned their disabilities into their superpowers. That's because people with these conditions tend to be a lot more creative, can think outside the box, can see the bigger picture, and are great at solving problems. They can also hyper-focus on tasks that they find interesting. Also, because they are impulsive and tend to take more risks, they are far more likely to start their own business. The key is that they need stimulation. For people with these types of disorders, the problem is not necessarily with them or with the way their brains function. The problem is with the world around them. By adjusting their environment, both personally and professionally, these people can achieve extraordinary greatness. Think billionaires Richard Branson and Bill Gates, who both have ADHD. Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, and Nikola Tesla, all autism. And they're not all brainiacs either. What about Steven Spielberg, Tom Cruise, and Keanu Reeves? They all have dyslexia. Something else these disorders have in common is sensory overload. That's when the sounds, sights, smells, and even textures in the environment around you are too overwhelming for you to handle. This can also make it really hard to stay focused. But these next guys have turned sensory overload on its head. If someone figured out how to turn it into a superpower, it's them. Number 4. Synesthesia. What does a number taste like? What does a color sound like? What does a sound smell like? Why does the word jail taste like bacon? Maybe lay off those brownies, dude. This has nothing to do with a bad trip on your favorite hallucinogenic. Meet the synesthetes. No, they're not some lost ancient biblical tribe. Synesthetes are people who have an extremely rare condition called synesthesia. Synesthesia affects only about 4% of people around the world. If you have this condition, it means 2 or more of your senses have gone haywire and are crossing paths. Basically, it's a short circuit of senses in your brain. For instance, synesthetes can see letters and numbers in color, even if they are printed in black. They can literally see and feel and smell and taste sound and music. Music appears in swirls of animated colors. For one synesthete, the word Derek tastes like earwax. Yuck. For another, the word Barbie tastes like sweet jelly with sour granules. For someone else, words that end with the letters A, G, E taste like sausages. Yet another person reported that not only does she see numbers and letters in colors, but also with genders and personalities. For example, the number 9 is a snobby elitist girl who thinks she's better than everyone else, while the number 3 is sporty and active. Synesthetes also commonly see names in colors. Ted might be yellow, Denise might be green, and your name might be a rainbow color. Thanks to this mix-matched haywire short-circuiting of senses, people with synesthesia have a remarkable ability to draw connections between otherwise seemingly unrelated things. This gives them enhanced creativity and enhanced memory. Synesthetes are often talented musicians and artists. Think the Piano Man, Billy Joel, singers like Lady Gaga, artists like Vincent van Gogh, weirdos like Kanye West. Okay, great. What's the downside to this incredible condition? Well, it doesn't actually seem like there are any negatives at all. Synesthetes live normal lives just like you and me, only way cooler. Number 3. Congenital insensitivity to pain, or CIP. Imagine what you can do if you felt no pain. Like no pain at all. Like stick a fork through your hand, no pain at all. That's exactly the case for people with congenital insensitivity to pain, or CIP. The condition, also known as congenital analgesia, is caused by rare gene mutations that affect only about 1 out of every 125 million people. Apart from not feeling any pain, patients also report that they can't feel extreme temperatures, so they can't tell if something is burning hot or freezing cold. Affected individuals can still feel touch, pressure, and texture, and even emotional pain. What makes this so interesting is that emotional pain and physical pain are processed in the same part of the brain. Sadly, children with CIP are especially at risk of causing major damage to themselves, like chewing their own tongues, scratching their eyes until they bleed, or suffering life-threatening injuries without realizing it. One such case is Gabby Gingras from Minnesota. At first, her mom didn't know there was anything wrong with her, until she was about 5 months old and was using her own fingers as a chew toy when she started cutting her teeth. So even though it might sound fantastic not to feel pain, it's a crucial part of our design. It's the body's way of protecting itself from harmful things and from our own stupidity. Learning to live with CIP as a child is extremely challenging, but people with this condition have formed a tight-knit community with a fantastic support system. Another case of this rare condition is a girl named Ashlyn Blocker. Like Gabby, her parents also didn't know anything was wrong until she stuck her hand into a pot of boiling water and was surprised to see that her hand suddenly turned a different color. Ashlyn's parents started Camp Painless But Hopeful to help other children just like her. Maybe their real superpower is not that they don't feel pain, but they have an incredible gift to help each other. Even though CIP is so rare, there is a single small village in Sweden that has almost 40 reported cases. Scientists are still mystified as to why. Number 2. Myostatin-related muscle hypertrophy. How about a healthy dose of superhuman strength? Yes, please. Myostatin-related muscle hypertrophy is a rare condition that causes significant increased muscle mass, like up to twice the muscle mass of the normal average Joe. As an added bonus, people with this condition also have significantly decreased body fat. Myostatin-related muscle hypertrophy was first recognized in a group of super buff cattle in the early 1800s, and then later also in sheep, pigs, dogs, and recently even this cat. It's so rare in humans that there are only a handful of recorded cases, the first being the real-life mini-Hulk, Liam Hoekstra. Liam was born in 2005 in Michigan, and doctors described him as a medical mystery. By 8 months old, he could do a pull-up. By 9 months old, he was climbing the stairs. By 3 years old, he was lifting 5-pound dumbbells and had a six-pack and biceps like he had been hitting the gym every day since he was born. Okay, Liam never worked out a day in his life. The little dude was just born that way. Though not like Lady Gaga. The condition is caused by a mutation in the MSTN gene that... The what now? You know, the MSTN gene. The gene that tells the body to make a protein called myostatin. Huh? Myostatin. You know, the protein that helps to regulate muscle growth. Myostatin limits muscle growth and stops muscles from going full-out Hulk mode. But if you are like Liam, then your myostatin is broken, and it doesn't tell your muscles to stop growing. So you just grow stronger and stronger. And get this, people with this disorder live relatively normal lives with no known negative downsides or side effects. This just may be the ultimate real-life superpower. Number 1. Trichodento-osseous syndrome, or TDO. Trichodento-osseous syndrome, or TDO, is an extremely rare condition that affects the hair, teeth, and bones. It is caused by a mutation in the DLX3 gene, and people with this condition are usually born with kinky, coarse, and curly hair that is prone to falling out. Patients typically experience severe dental issues like abnormal teeth, teeth that are brittle and break easily, and teeth that fall out. Nails also tend to be brittle and split easily. Due to dental and bone irregularities, some patients within one family even shared distinctive broader foreheads and enlarged jawlines. In some cases, TDO does have a surprisingly positive side effect. It makes the bones a lot more dense. Like a lot. Judo chomp! Imagine being a real-life piñata at kids' parties, or walking away from a potentially fatal accident without a single broken bone. Kinda like that movie.
Because you didn't break one bone. You don't have a scratch on you.
Doctors first discovered this anomaly when they examined a man who survived a serious car crash. Yet, miraculously, X-rays revealed that he didn't even have as much as a single bone fracture. Upon further examination, doctors discovered that his bone density was 8 times higher than normal. This means that some patients with TDO have almost unbreakable bones. Trichodento-osseous syndrome is so rare that only a few thousand people around the world have it. And scientists are pretty sure those people might somehow all be related, since it can be traced back to a single Scottish sailor who immigrated to America hundreds of years ago. What other disorders do you think can be turned into superpowers? And what would be your favorite? Personally, I think the best superpower of all is knowledge, and that's what this channel is all about. So why not like and subscribe to grow your own knowledge? Because really, no one likes a dummy.